Hello and welcome. What's up, guys? How's it going? So, let's jump right into it here. Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. It took me just about a little over 10 hours to beat, and definitely have some thoughts on this game. I think, in general, it felt more like Metal Gear Solid 1 than 2, and I welcome that. I think the setting was incredible. I think that was the highlight for me. It was 1964 jungle, Soviets versus America. It felt very cool. Like the setting, the atmosphere that this game gives off is honestly top tier. And not many games have this aura about it like this game does, and I understand why it got remade. Mind you, I did play the original. I did not play the remake that has came out in the last year, but really enjoyed this game, man. The setup of it all with you're on this mission and then you run into the boss and she defects to the Soviet Union, and Snake's kind of taken back on this, and the whole time just trying to figure out why and how could she do this. And the story honestly was very intriguing. Like the other ones are really interesting and fun, but you also had I think like an underlying thing that felt a little bit off, where you always felt kind of unstoppable. In this game, you felt like no chance am I beating the boss. The boss is over and over and over again in this game has put the work to you multiple times. So it sets up to build and get good at the game as you're getting on. Like you have to get good at the mechanics of this game to be able to, I feel like, beat some of these bosses throughout the game, including the boss, which is the final boss battle. That was a lot of bosses there, I said, but it makes sense in the world of Metal Gear Solid. And I'll also say this game reminds me of so many modern day games or games that have came out after it. I mean, I can walk around and I can feel Uncharted, and I can also see set pieces of it being Call of Duty or Ghost Recon. I feel like this game was looked at as such a influential piece back in the day because it did inspire so many other games to come after it. All right, let's talk bosses here, because there's some bosses that are good and some bosses I think are not that great. And I feel like I can say that about two as well. I think one had amazing bosses. I think two was very hit or miss. And I think with three, I think it's even more hit or miss. But the highs are high, but the lows are kind of really low. For example, I really enjoyed the Fury. I thought the Fury was an awesome boss battle. Revolver Ocelot was great as well, and it's awesome seeing a younger version of him. I think on top of that, Volgin, I think, was a good boss battle. I thought the boss was a very awesome, very good boss battle. One of my favorites of the series. And then, on the other hand, there's just as many negatives on this list, such as the Sorrow. By the way, the Sorrow in the cutscenes, super freaky. Did not know what was going on when I saw this guy floating around behind people when you held down the trigger and you saw this ghost. It was really freaky, and it set up really well because I was intrigued the entire time until I actually had the boss battle. And the story behind him, by the way, is really cool. Super cool. Backstory on the Sorrow. That being said, his battle wasn't really much of a battle, and I think it left me being like, okay, that was kind of boring. I felt like I walked extremely slow, and it took forever. But and also Kojima being Kojima, where you die, but then you can still hold on the trigger and revive yourself. That whole thing, honestly, I did this twice. I was like, what am I missing? I'm just gonna restart it, and I did. Maybe I just gotta get hip to Kojima games more, because I guess they just keep doing stuff like this. And let's go. The Pain. I didn't really. I don't know. I didn't mesh well with this one, and I think the same thing. It just didn't really do it for me here. There's not enough context or intrigue into this boss battle. So the end is a weird boss. I liked his goofiness and a little bit odd character, but I got to a point where I'm just running around with the microphone trying to amplify his breathing, and then I would get shot and then he'd run away, and it became, honestly, it was fine for the first 10 minutes. And then it was like 15, 20, just trying to chase this guy down. I kind of got really annoyed before I got the hang of it, but I got him. And I don't know. It was a cool, maybe exit cutscene of him. But the actual battle was kind of annoying, even though walking around the different zones that you were trying to hunt him down and were really big and open and fun to explore around. But I will say, trying to track him down kind of got really annoying towards the end. Speaking of the end, the last boss in this game is the Fear. And I think the Fear is my least favorite Metal Gear boss ever. This was so odd and not fun to play, and the character was stupid. I'm just gonna say it was stupid. The Fear is stupid. I don't like the Fear. All he just said was the Fear, and he would yell it over and over and over again. It was super boring. I didn't like the gameplay. I don't like the boss battle in general. I don't like the character. I don't like how the battle played out. I just was not a fan of it. And that is, like I said, with this game, the highs are high, the lows are low, and somewhere in between is the rest of the game, because the rest of the game is great. The gameplay is great. Eva is great. I really like her as a side character for many reasons. Shout out. No, I'm just joking. But no, I think she has a really cool character with Volgin, the kind of double agent, triple agent kind of thing is really fun to explore, and you kind of can't point her down, right? You're kind of like, I don't know if she's good or bad, but I really like that character. And here's one thing I want to say with this game that I actually don't like. The actual like comm system, I feel like, was such an afterthought, because I went from knowing every single individual on the comms that fed me information and made me get through my mission in Metal Gear Solid 1, and even in Metal Gear Solid 2, a little bit less in 2, but a lot in 1. You had to rely on it. And then here in 3, I don't really care about any of these people. Like paramedic, I don't care about paramedic. Like, none of them helped me. I didn't think any of them were useful in my gameplay. The only thing I went to was just save my game. But I need information, man. Like, sitting through some, woman explaining a random movie to me is not what I'm here for. Like, I need some information, and that kind of made me mad, because I really enjoyed in Metal Gear 1, where, I mean, you heavily relied on them to find where you're going and what to do, and I think that's how, if you were in this real mission, that's what you would be doing. You would be relying on people back at base feeding you information, and that was the genius behind it. And I think by 3, I think we've kind of lost it here, and that's a big downside. I'm not sure if this could have been just a me problem, but I felt that there were scenarios in this game where if I wasn't crawling, or I didn't jump at the right time, or I'm sneaking around on the base, which is a really cool part of the story, but if I didn't sneak perfectly, I felt like I always got caught, and always turned into more of an action game. And I liked being able to sneak around in 1, and I like to be able to hang off the sides and shimmy around in 2. And I know you can still do all that kind of stuff, but I felt like in this game, I was getting caught more often and hiding, having to run and hide, but it turns into an action piece. That's my only big gripe about the gameplay, because the gameplay felt good. The gunplay felt smooth. The variety of guns were expansive and more than ever, but I felt like I was being caught more, and it became me running around and being chased and hiding in areas, or running out of areas, or hiding in the box hoping I don't get caught. It was more of that, and I wished the sneaking and the stealth was a little bit more prevalent, and that could just be a completely me problem. I don't know, but I felt like I was more and more getting caught, or than I was in Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2. But yeah, I think between the setting, the character of Naked Snake, the boss, Volgin, the setting, it was fun, man. I really, really enjoyed this game. I liked it more than 2. I didn't like it as much as 1, but I'm really excited to play more. And I totally understand why this is a lot of people's favorite Metal Gear game. Yeah, guys, overall, really enjoyed Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Love you guys. Appreciate it. Like, subscribe, and for more Metal Gear, stay tuned.